Welcome back to an episode of Clutch Gene Sports. I'm your host, Marco Martinez, here with my guy, David Liecthy, who was at 49ers training camp. How's it going, David?
Bro, I'm good. It's a beautiful day. It was in the 60s and 70s. Had an awesome day at camp. Aside from the 4-ounce glasses of water they gave us, we're getting those glasses in the water ration smaller and smaller over the years because we got to milk every dollar that we can, but we're good.
Bro, remember, so it's interesting. So every other team, training camp-wise, I know it's a quick 30, 45-minute show today, but every other team, training camp-wise, they do like fan interaction. You're able to record videos. You see all these highlight videos on social media by fans that are there, not even content creators, fans.
Yep.
49ers don't let you do any of that shit. They give you a water cup this big. It used to be a small water bottle, change it to a cup. They don't let you sit where you want. Nope. It's kind of gotten out of hand. So as a season ticket holder, you're obviously there. Training camp was good. What was your most favorite part about training camp just being there? Obviously, you're a fan as well. Or was it kind of shitty in terms of how they treated you guys?
I will just say this. Yeah, I walk up. I've been a season ticket holder since January of 2018. And in years past, at least in 21, you could sit wherever you wanted. So I haven't been back in 3 years. I went to Vikings joint camp in 22. And I walked past to go up to a different section. And I was immediately surrounded by 4 guys asking me, is there a problem? Do you think you're special? I was like, I had no clue. I had said nothing. And I just kind of felt like, I got the long hair, things like that. I said, brother, I'm a season ticket holder. I'm a high school teacher. It doesn't have to go like this. It just, they got them working like rent-a-cops. It doesn't have to be that way. At Vikings camp, it's family friendly. The bleachers there's 4 times as many bleachers. Nobody's sitting here micromanaging your phones. Nobody's you can go out and get a cup of coffee. Training. We literally have 4-ounce cups of water. We used to get water bottles a couple of years back. Now, it's just, so yeah, I had a fun time up there with Jesse. I'm with their coach. I'm with Raj. I'm with Rohan. Talked to Brad and Jordan and some other guys. Ran into Grant. Talked to Grant. It was fun that way. So I'll keep a positive spirits. I'll be back tomorrow. I'll try not to start too many brouhahas. But yeah, it'd be nice if they just loosen the leash a little bit and let people have a little bit of fun. And right now they kind of treat it like it's a boot camp when you're walking in. I don't know. It's a little weird.
That's interesting. So getting straight into practice, obviously reports out of practice where Brock Purdy lighting it up, right? 7 for 7 to start the day, 2 touchdowns, a deep bomb to Deebo Samuel, stepped up into the pocket, possibly rolled out, threw a touchdown to Christian McCaffrey, 35 yards, probably could have been 60 if he kept running touchdown-wise.
Yep.
So sounds like Brock started off hot, and then practice kind of defense flipped everything and flipped that offense on their head. Talk to me about what you saw from Brock and how did Brock look? Because it sounded like Brock was on fire, and then a series of 7 throws led to 4 interceptions, roughly.
Here's the thing, I keep it a buck with Brock. I already tweeted about it. I said he did start off really crisp. The throw to Deebo was one of the best throws I've seen him make in training camp before. It was an absolute dot, and credit to Deebo. That's one of the things. He looks like he's in great shape. Got excellent. It was on Yadam. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. If it's Yadam or Yadam, but he was lined up outside.
Who's that with you? Is that someone that just gave you how to say Yadam?
What?
Who's with you right there?
Nobody. I'm just sitting here by myself. The voices in my head.
Oh, I could have sworn I heard someone tell you it was Yadam.
I got my assistant over here. No, that's just the voices in my head. But no, it was a great run, and it was a beautiful pass. And there was a couple times where he did step up in the pocket, got outside the pocket like he does, connect with Juwan Jennings. He looked really good. I will say this: I still think he made some decisions that you got the feeling that at least one of them was after Leonard Floyd, had a sack. They didn't they basically call it dead. So one of them where it was a drop pick by Fred looked like he just kind of, gave up on it. But there was 2 other ones where there was just pressure, and he made a decision to throw it. And it looked like he wasn't frustrated. It looked like he was just kind of winging it or playing with house money. And I think Kyle, though, would like him not to have that mentality. I think he'd like to see him tighten that up.
Did Kyle have a reaction to those interceptions when he did throw them?
I can't tell, but I think that, no, I don't know. I don't know about that, so I don't want to put words in Kyle's mouth. But I would also say that, it'd be nice to see that cleaned up. It did have the whole practice kind of had the feel though. So I've been on record. I can't sit here and praise the touchdown and not talk about the interception, right? And so the idea that the practice had to feel like first, you're doing these 11s. Like, I wouldn't say people are half-assing, but it didn't have that.
You're muted. You muted yourself when you moved your phone.
Didn't feel that locked in, have that locked in feel, and not making excuses for Brock at all. I personally thought that the last two, the Fred Warner dropped pick, that was a sack. It looked like he just kind of like, F it, right? The other two, though, the Demo pick six can't happen. Like, there was a little bit of pressure. He just kind of tossed it up. And you saw similar throws from Tanner Mordecai.
Tanner Mordecai got throws.
What?
Tanner Mordecai got team reps?
Yes, he did. First time, yes. But, it's just one of those, yeah. So, yeah, I'd like to see Brock clean it up. It was very encouraging. That was the consensus on the top row. Was there with Coach, was there with Jesse and Rohan. But he definitely did look crisp early on. Would have liked to see that kind of, I think he kind of got a little bit of, I don't know. I think he thought he was kind of playing with house money, and I still think you got to practice. Perfect practice makes perfect play, and I'd like to see him tidy that up where he's not just throwing stuff to throw it. I also think it's very clear, and this is not excuse. It's very clear that Debo is in great shape, no doubt about it. And everybody always kind of says, Debo looks good, and he looked good outside today. And outside of that, you've got Juwan in that possession role. Chris Conley never ran, a couple times ran with the ones. BA, it would be really nice to get BA in here and get some consistency with this first unit.
You skipped the receiver, man, and it's one of the most important receivers probably for the 49ers. You skipped Tariq Owens. I meant Ricky Pearsall. I'm just kidding. I meant Ricky Pearsall.
Yeah, Pearsall actually. So there was one, he had a drop. I think it was from Brandon Allen. It was a little back shoulder, but he made another one that Brandon Allen was another hospital ball that he snagged really well. Looked, I thought like overall, I think it was, he's not running with the ones, right? So, which is interesting in the first round pick with BA not being there. Tariq Owens had a couple drops, but then he caught a dot from Brandon Allen, and it was a 50-yard touchdown pass. So making the best out of his moments, but he also had a drop. Debo caught a 50-yard touchdown pass, but he also dropped a 2-yard pass in the flat. So it's like you're going to have all the players. Debo had drop, Ricky had a drop, Tariq Owens had a drop. I mean, you're going to see that, but I would like to see Ricky out there with the ones more, being that BA's out. And then I think that's a little bit telling. Ricky also looked like he's getting a lot of kick and punt return reps in practice. And it seemed like him and Trent Taylor were outshining Ronnie Bell quite a bit in that regard. So maybe that's something that you're looking at with him getting on the field.
For Ricky Pearsall, obviously, I wasn't expecting him to do much in teams, but one-on-ones, how did he look route running wise or in team as well when they're in press man or press coverage, their alignment? How did he look in terms of beating press or with the physicality of the defensive corners and stuff like that? Because that's one of the bigger spots where I noticed Ricky Pearsall struggled in college. So did you notice anything there?
No,
I know that's something.
It was tough early on in the 11-on-11s. I thought he did a decent job on the couple reps that he had with those situations. They were doing the one-on-ones on the opposite field before, so we were kind of focusing a little bit more on what we were seeing. So I'm not gonna talk about something I didn't see with him in one-on-ones. But I'll say this: he does look healthy. He does not look like there's anything holding him up right now. Like it doesn't. There looked like there were zero restrictions on him. He wasn't taking. He was in the rotation. He wasn't nursing anything. He wasn't limping with a hamstring. We know those can, linger. But yeah, that's something I'm going to look at tomorrow. I'm glad you brought it up. Try to focus on those one-on-ones. But I think what's significant, and this is kind of on brand for Kyle in a lot of ways, is that he's sometimes reluctant to get some of these younger guys in there. And I feel like BA being out would be an excellent time to get Ricky some reps. But it looks like he's not. It looks like he's wide receiver. I mean, if BA is in there, it looks like Ricky Pearsall's wide receiver 4, and then that's kind of asking yourself, you're drafting a 24-year-old receiver who I felt like maybe he's going to have a niche role. But if BA is back and you got Jennings and Debo and CMC is going to get the volume, I don't know where Ricky gets on the field, at least yet. It's early in camp. So hopefully we'll get to see him have some shine, and we'll see what happens, but I don't know.
Absolutely. So we also, obviously, Jordan Mason has been the talk of training camp, and he had a 70-yard touchdown run, what it sounded like.
Yeah.
How did the run game look for the 49ers? But also, Should I be, because I've been concerned regarding the run defense since the start of training camp, since before training camp actually.
Yep.
Did the run defense struggle today, or is it just the 49ers can run the damn ball at a high level without Trent Williams?
It's both, and you're right. Remember, they're playing with pads, but like sometimes it's confusing because I do think Jordan Mason probably did have that 70 yards. You also kind of like when a receiver catches a ball, like, is that a legit yak, like in a stiff arm, or was that like I could have had that tackle, right? So it's always there. Nobody's laying anybody out, right? Even in full pads yet. We're not there yet. So I would say, here's my take. I do think the run defense struggled. I do think the offensive line, I thought the interior line did better. I thought Aaron Banks was struggling quite a bit in pass protection. But in the run game, along that left side, Jaylen Brown on the left side, the run game looked pretty damn good. I mean, whether it was Elijah Mitchell looked really good today. Jordan Mason looked really good today. CMC was the first day in full pads for him. He looked excellent. As a receiver, he was lighting it up in one-on-ones, just absolutely destroying people. Made Tig Brown. I like Tig Brown, but he made Tig Brown look really bad multiple times. But the run game was really working around that left side well. And I would say in the interior in the run game, there was a lot of times where you're getting that 4 to 5 yards before you're getting touched. And again, that's been the concern, though, right? That run defense. And is that going to be better? Because we know you go back to the playoffs, you go back to the latter part of the season when Eric Armstead got hurt. That was the Achilles heel for this team that really allowed teams to stay in it a lot because they couldn't stop the run.
And I think that's kind of one of my concerns is the run defense, because obviously if teams can start running the ball on you, it allows them to go play action and stuff like that. And I think that's what I heard where the Deebo Samuel the touchdown was off of play action, was it not, or was the person that reported that wrong?
I don't recall. Sometimes when we're watching this, it's like hard because you're trying to focus on a certain player. Like at that time, I'm gonna go watch this lineup right at the snap. Obviously, Kyle was running a shit ton of play action throughout the day. On that situation, I don't know. And of course, we don't have video of it. Maybe that one of the
you're good.
But what I was impressed with was there was a lot of times where Deebo, I think Deebo does. He put Deebo in motion quite a bit. I don't know the percentage over the years, but it's been pretty high. There are a lot of plays, though, with BA gone. Deebo's lining up on that left side out wide, and kind of his X. And it was just beat his man. Deebo, he's not like a route running savant, but he did a good job of getting separation, and the pocket was legitimate. I don't think Brock waited too long. I don't think there was nothing major pressure. Got rid of the ball. It was a beautiful play.
That's great to hear. What about Dominic Puny? Did you notice anything about Dominic Puny in terms of? I know we talked about the Aaron Banks struggling.
Yes.
How did Dominic Puny look to you in one-on-ones as well as?
From what we saw in one-on-ones, from what we were, it's hard. Sometimes you're focusing on one player and then you're looking somewhere else. That was another consensus that Puni looked really good. I think that one guy, to not change this up, but to stay on topic, we talked about a player that really struggled, was Jarrett Kingston. They have him lined up at tackle still, where he played at USC instead of the interior. He's at right tackle and just absolutely got destroyed. Just got destroyed all day at right tackle. And I'm not sure with his length being I don't understand it. I knew Lincoln Riley had him there at USC. He's not a tackle. I'm not sure why they're giving him reps there. And it's not like he's doing it with the one. So why, if you're on the second and third unit and why you're putting him outside? I'm not an O-line guru. I don't pretend to be, but it doesn't seem to make sense to me.
Yeah, when the Niners drafted Jarrett Kingston, my initial thought was he should be playing inside at either center or guard. I don't see a tackle at all. I think as athletic guy who has length issues. Defensively, how did any of the defensive linemen stand out? Any of the younger guys stand out to you in the one-on-ones or anything like that?
Yeah, I would say, like I said, there were pressures early on. It's sometimes hard to call what's a pressure, what's a sack. I would say Leonard Floyd, I thought, made a couple of really nice plays today. That was the play where Brock. It was clear that Brock just kind of, he was like, okay, the play's over almost, right? And Fred Warner got a PBU / drop pick. That was Leonard Floyd. I thought Leonard Floyd looked really fluid today. But Nick Bosa was obviously awesome in one-on-ones. He's ready to go. I think you just kind of almost shut him down whenever you want, as far as in the preseason. But yeah, Leonard Floyd stood out today, and I was glad to see that calf mishap. And I've been as critical as anybody, not of Leonard Floyd itself, but like banking on some of these older players to be there. And it didn't look like he was playing with a hitch at all.
If you had to give one player the best player of the day or at training camp today, who would you say was the best player at training camp offensively?
Offensively, oof. I mean, honestly, I would probably say CMC and Jordan Mason. I also think
Oh wow,
that
Jordan Mason.
what?
I said, oh wow, you threw Jordan Mason in there with Christian McCaffrey. That's
Yeah,
high praise.
yeah, and just the thing, CMC and one-on-ones. This is the thing. Like honestly, and I've always pumped the brakes on this. Christian McCaffrey could play wide receiver in the NFL. Like
Easily.
he honestly was the most impressive in one-on-ones as a receiver. He didn't. It's like he's not even trying, right? It's just he doesn't rub it in. He doesn't talk shit. But he just like it's like he knows and like Tig Brown, all due respect, bless his soul, like he's not going to cover Christian McCaffrey. It's not going to happen. But I would say Jordan Mason's look good. Oh, and by the way, no, I will say this: Elijah Mitchell. I know there's been talks about Jordan Mason and things like that. Elijah Mitchell, I wasn't there at camp yesterday. I heard he played well. Today, Elijah Mitchell was lights out. And as long as the whole thing with Elijah is as long as he's healthy, I'll say this, man: CMC, Mason, and Elijah Mitchell it looks like a really good 3 running back, team. Obviously, CMC is still going to get the crazy volume. I don't believe all this load management. I don't think Kyle's going to change his ways. I think he's going to ride CMC all the way through the season like he did last time. But yeah, running backs all look great. That's who I'd go with. But I would say, yes, I still say CMC. I thought CMC looked the best. And as a receiver, CMC made some really nice plays in 11-on-11s as well. George Kittle was out there. Still, it's hard to call. Still looks a little tight. Don't know if he did play in pads. And then, of course, Devo, aside for that drop, looked really, really well. And Brock played very well at the beginning. But the decisions at the end definitely take him out of the running for being considered.
Player of the day, offensive player of the day. Okay, what about defense? Obviously,
Yep.
defense had a handful of interceptions.
Yep.
Who would you, if you had to give it to one player defensively who was constantly standing out? Who was that?
Easy, Diamador Lenore. And it's not the pick six. The pick six was icing on the cake, and that's really more on Brock there, than anything. He had several PBUs. He's just not. He's in the right spot at the right time all the time. And one thing that they've been doing today was when they were going 3 linebacker sets, Demo was outside, and DFF was the 3rd linebacker with Devondre and Fred over D Winters and et al. But when they were going 2 linebackers, they had Demo inside, they had Yadam on the outside, and then they had Ambry. Outside. Mooney wasn't playing a lot today. He had his pads on, but I think they're still kind of easing him back. But Lenore, I mean, if Lenore takes that leap, he played excellent last year. That's going to make it decision making for this team roster wise, including Charvarius Ward. I love Mooney Ward, but there are going to be decisions this team has to make. And I think if Lenore really takes a leap this year, that's huge for this defense.
I've been saying I think Lenore might be the best cornerback on the Niners roster because of his versatility and is able to do everything that the Niners ask from him. How do you mentioned a little bit of D Winters and Jalen Graham? Did they not impress today? Did they not get any run? What was their issue? Or because it kind of sounded like they're passed on by DFF.
It's hard to call sometimes because the quarterback play is just so bad behind Brock Purdy. I mean, that's the thing. I think we need to understand. And I've never been oh my God, you got to have the great backup quarterback. I'm of the belief that if your starter goes down, you're kind of effed. But the quarterback play was really bad behind Brock. And so sometimes it's really difficult to see. Like a couple of the turnovers they had on the 2nd and 3rd team, it was just like, what are you doing? So it's hard to get a gauge on that. I've been saying I'd like to see these young guys get run. Now, 3 years ago, Elijah Mitchell was a 6th round draft pick. And you remember, I remember tweeting out 3 years ago and being at camp all week. And I think you agree, he was the most explosive guy on the field, and that was over Mostert, and thankfully there were no roster politics, and Mitchell got that run. And he played a lot, especially when Mostert went down. And so it'd be nice to see D Winters, it'd be nice to see Jalen Graham get in there, but with the ones, it was consistent. It was DFF and Devondre Campbell every single time. Devondre Campbell looked really, really slow in one-on-one. I don't know. I'm not. I shouldn't make hyperbolic statements that are indicative of only a couple plays that you see as like little snapshots. But I'm very leery about Devondre being a guy that they lean on too hard. I think he's a huge liability in coverage, and it'd be nice to see some of these young guys step in there.
It's interesting because you mentioned earlier, I wanted to go back to it, Tanner Mordecai. So he got runs with the twos, huh?
Threes. I mean, it's like you got 4 quarterbacks, right? Yeah, so if you call that twos, yes. I mean, Tanner Mordecai had a handful of reps. And I guess Rohan said that was the first time he'd even thrown a ball in practice this year. So as far as like, not just going through your drills. So yeah, no, Tanner Mordecai was out there. It was a pretty steady, it was actually pretty even rotation in a lot of ways. I want to say, I could be corrected later on, but Brandon Allen, we've been calling Josh Dobbs Tremu. I called him Tremu because Jesse's called him Wish Trey Lance. And then I was like, Timu Trey Lance. How about Tremu? And then we have Brandon
You guys
Allen.
are terrible.
Tremu. Tremu looked really bad today. Not good. Not good, Bob Dobbs. Not good, Bob's. That's a bad one too. It's a dad joke. Didn't hit. But no, it's hard to call.
You're such a dad when you start dropping dad jokes, bro.
Bro, we were dropping dad jokes like all day on the top row. When they weren't telling us to put our phones away, the signs say no photos or videos. They don't say you can't read a text from your wife. They don't say, it's just So
you're one of those smart asses, huh?
No, I didn't say shit.
You're like, I'm reading my wife's text message. You're actually recording a video.
No, bro. I'm talking like having your phone like in your lap. Like they say, get that out. I was like, what the, whatever, man. Jed York's got him. John Lynch and Kyle, we're not going to let anything out, man. The integrity. We got an email today. They said like the competitive balance of our team. That's why we're limiting the phones. I'm like, yeah, you do that one practice at a time. Super Bowl bound, 30 years.
What's so funny though is like nobody ever, like no team care, bro. Like every team out there is letting fans record what's going on right now. It doesn't even matter, bro. Like truthfully, it doesn't matter. Like I find it funny that the competitive nature. But talk to me a little bit about defense. How the defense looks in terms of any changes from last year. Obviously, last year they ran a lot more cover 2, cover 4, played a little more zone, but they also implemented a lot more press man than they have in the years past. Did the defense show any blitzes, any disguises, anything stunts-wise along the defensive line that you're like, oh, wow, that's a new wrinkle?
Yes. They had Demo. They actually had Demo on a couple. He had a couple blitzes today, Lenore. Obviously, have Leonard Floyd standing up over there. It's clear Leonard Floyd is the pass rush specialist, right? Like it's just very clear. That's what they're asking him to do. But yeah, I think really, and again, I'll be honest, I wasn't glued to the 2s and 3s in that regard. But Lenore, at least two blitzes. I would say there some of the times where you did see those interceptions was in zone on both sides, but there was, when Debo had that touchdown, it was straight press man.
Okay, and that's good to hear because I've been wanting the Niners to go a lot more press man and stuff like that because they have all the dudes to do it. They have Mooney, they have Demo. Now with Yadam, that's like his specialty. That's where he is better at. What do you want to see from tomorrow's training camp? Because today was obviously extreme highs for Brock Purdy, some lows for Brock Purdy. Defensively, you could say that the run game struggled, that the offense had their way with the defense to start. What do you want to see tomorrow from training camp since you'll be there again tomorrow?
Like I said, I want to see I'll say what I want to see from Brock. I tweeted about at the first part of practice. I felt like there was that command that I think a couple of people have been talking about, but I want to see it consistent all the way through. I do understand. I actually do understand that practice mentality can sometimes be, hey, I'm not going to do this in a situation. I said, yeah, that's great, but I'd like to see that. I'd like to see it all the way through, play with that type of mentality. I'd like to see Aaron Banks. I really felt like in pass protection, there's still that interior part it can be a struggle. I'd say that was a struggle that I'd like to see better. And I also feel like some of our guys, linebackers and cornerbacks, you're going to see this a lot. There's a lot of handsy stuff that the offense, I would say, I think most people, I haven't even read what people have tweeted out today. I think the offense really did dominate most of the time except for those turnovers. And I think that those turnovers were really sometimes more quarterback. It was more on the quarterback. It wasn't really the defense.
And when you say it's on the quarterback, can you walk us through some of those interceptions? When you say quarterback, is it decision making? Is it
yes.
not reading the proper thing? Is it more so that he had pressure in his face, so he's just making an arrogant throw with pressure in his face instead of just eating the sack? What are you seeing from it to be Brock's fault for those interceptions? Obviously, interceptions don't matter in training camp, right? Like, it doesn't matter. So if interceptions don't matter, right, David, neither do touchdowns,
Nope.
right? Nothing
Yep.
matters in training camp. Touchdowns don't matter. Interceptions don't matter. But the thing is practice still has to go on, and these players have to get better, and they have to try to do things. Obviously, what was the reason for these interceptions? You're saying it's Brock. Those are more Brock related. Why are they Brock related?
I would say that, I would say that, again, the Leonard Floyd sack clearly looked like, and that was the dropped Fred Warner pick. That was clearly not, I would say, not a real play completely. But the pick six to Lenoir was. In that situation, there was pressure, and right before he would have been sacked, he didn't have a lot of time. But instead of, he threw it off his back foot and threw it into trouble. There was another one where he just decided to thread into, I don't think it was Cody Schrader. Who was it? I can't remember who it was. Just in the middle of the field, and just didn't look. There was no reason to throw the ball, right? But the Lenoir one off the back foot, just throw it away. He does have. I'm not saying it's throwing 50 yards. It was a long pass. He could have easily thrown that ball out of bounds, and he didn't. So those are the kind of things where you did see Josh Dobbs throw a ball out of bounds in those situations on third down when it was a move the ball, situation trying to pick up the first those possession downs. But that's what I want to see cleaned up. And when I say it's on the quarterback, a lot of those picks on both sides of the ball. For instance, I don't know how, but I've always been like for safeties. Everybody loves turnovers for cornerbacks, but Sauce Gardner has 0 interceptions last year, so he must be trash. I think interceptions are usually more on the quarterback than they are on the D-back. And in my humble opinion, and yes, there is a art and science to kind of being in the right spot and knowing your spot, especially when you're playing a zone and things like that. But oftentimes those are just fortuitous plays that are bad plays by quarterbacks. And almost all the interceptions today were bad plays by the quarterback. In fact, the Fred Warner would-be interception should have been an interception, and Fred dropped it. And Fred's got to catch that, to be quite honest.
And I'm sure that it'll be worked out and everything like that. Like, obviously, it's kind of teach tape when you go into the facility now, and Kyle could explain things, and the offensive staff could go ahead and coach Brock up on this stuff. Like, hey, we don't want you throwing off your back foot. We don't want you throwing when you have pressure down your face. Just get rid of it, throw it out, throw it away, live to see another down. Because one of those interceptions, I believe, or two of them, were during move the ball period, were they not?
Yes. Yeah.
Move the ball period. Your offense is trying to go score on the defense. That's like game-like mode right there. You're trying to move the ball down on the defense, and the defense is trying to stop you. So that is more game-like situation than that's the most game-like you'll get in a practice. It's a simulated game when it's move the ball period. So for me, I don't really trip over it. I understand that there's importance to throwing interceptions and how those could impact you in the long run. Obviously, it sounded like a very competitive day in terms of offense and defense going back and forth against each other.
Yep.
From my humble opinion, I wasn't there, so I can't 100% say who won the day. But if you had to say which side won the day,
I would say late in the day, it looked like defense turned the corner. But those are the turnovers that were really more. I still feel like the offense was kind of having their way at the beginning. There wasn't. They were running the ball incredibly well again, and I'm not including but first contact stuff. Kyle was clearly having his way with the run game. CMC looked good. Jordan Mason looked really good. Elijah Mitchell looked really good. Guys aren't even in tight quarters. Guys weren't getting touched, 5-6, and that's where the run defense thing is going to come out. And I felt like early on, like I did say, Brock was looking really crisp. Looked like he was in command of what he was doing. Debo looked great. Jawan Jennings looked very consistent. And I think Juwan, just to speak about Juwan Jennings, I know you love Juwan Jennings. I do too. I don't want to inflate who he is necessarily, but like I think that it's very clear, especially with BA out, that Jennings is going to be a guy that's going to be relied on as that really valuable possession receiver. So his yards per catch are not going to look gaudy, but he's a guy that Kyle really trusts to, I'm not saying post up, but like be in that position where he can use his body to help him in those situations. And there's a lot of those things in play action where Juwan Jennings is, going to the sideline, picking up those 4 yards on second and 5, second and 3 or whatever it is, and like getting it done and moving the stick. So that's like you said on those move the ball situations. It would be nice not to just like be so careless with the ball. And I agree. I'm going to echo what you said. We cannot sit here and just lose our shit over touchdown passes. Like, and the pass to Debo was a dot. It was a beautiful throw. We can't sit here and talk about that and ignore the head scratchers. So you want to see consistency. And we'll just see. I think it'll get ironed out, but we'll just see how that rolls.
Most impressive rookie on the day?
Oh, that's a good question. I will say I did think Ricky Pearsall actually started out really well. His one in what he was doing, there was the one drop that was a little behind him, but he snagged a harder one. Dominic Puni, I would say Dominic Puni. I wasn't getting a look at Renardo because Renardo's running with the twos, and there's just no firepower on the twos. I would say Dominic Puni is the guy that I would say looked to be the best out there, and I was very interested to see where he evolves, especially as Spencer Burford is hurt and sidelined right now. Yeah,
I don't think Dominic Puni gets that job back. This is just me personally. I don't. Once he's inserted into that starting lineup, and I was always a firm believer that it was going to be hard to take that position from Burford, because Burford obviously knows the offense and everything like that. And Burford's not. He's not a bad offensive lineman. Like, fans hate him because of one play, in my opinion, or a few plays. Yeah. And when you're a veteran, it's you know how to hold off a player. And for Puni getting those first team reps early in training camp, you're not going to give it back. Like, I don't see how it happens. No mention of Malik Mustafa in the last few days. How did he look?
I thought like drills, he looked really good. I thought like he was really looking. That was where on those one-on-ones, I thought Malik Mustafa did a really nice job. Again, it's difficult because so I thought I was going to lose my phone, so I used to like voice. I would be like sitting there texting to like have my notes for if I write an article or do whatever else. Well, today they're like, "Oh, put your phone in your pocket." It's like, fuck, I didn't bring my notebook, right? So there were a lot of times where you're kind of coalescing and talking about what we just saw with the ones, Jesse and Coach, Rohan, things like that. I'll put it this way: Mustafa didn't get. He didn't look bad. You didn't see him on the ground. You didn't see him his number called in a bad way. So I like that you asked that question because I'm going to do a lot better diligent job tomorrow of watching those rookies and watching those guys with the 2s and 3s a little bit closer. And I will bring my notebook tomorrow and keep an eye on those guys.
Absolutely. I know with camp being there and everything moving around right now, what's the big, I know you're just there for just today, but so far that you've seen, what's the biggest positive that you could say, for sure this will be good or the Niners will have good XYZ this season?
Oh, it's a healthy triad of running backs. I'm just going to be honest with you. Like, it will be hard to stop this offense. And I do hope now for fantasy purposes, I don't care about fantasy, but I do because I play. Like, obviously, I'm a Niners fan first.
He said, I don't care, but I do.
Yeah. So, yeah, I drafted CMC in all my leagues last year, and it paid off. But I want to see Kyle pump the brakes on his volume. And I think that Kyle he's very slow to evolve in that way of trust in that regard. And I want to see him take that next step. And I think Mason and Mitchell, if they're both healthy, this team is a very, very good spot. Obviously, Isaac Orindo is out. Who knows when he's coming back? He's had hamstring injuries. I'm never going to victory lap a guy. Like, and it was something he struggled with early on. And then I read some articles about allegedly how he learned how to take care of his hamstring. And look, I'm going to be honest, as a guy who's nursed hamstring, like you can take care of your hamstring all you want, man. Like, if you have a history of hamstrings, it usually comes back. And so Dalvin Cook dealt with it. A lot of players do. So it'll be interesting. But those three guys together and having fresh legs, it's going to be – that's very encouraging. And I think that was, to me, when you asked me the player of the game, I felt all three running backs were absolute studs today. Absolute studs.
From one day of training camp, what's one area that you think the Niners are going to have a weak spot?
Ooh, run defense.
Run defense. And that's what I've been, man, you look at the run defense, defensive tackles. Hargrave has never been above average run stopper. Malik Collins has never been above average. And then one of their third out of their fourth defensive tackles is Kevin Givens, and he's not a good run defender.
No.
So it's like looking at the team, like the way the team is built, their top four guys, three of them aren't good run defenders. They're not above average run defenders. You're not going to have a good run defense. And that's going to be very interesting when the Niners go to stop the run, because now you become sustainable to the play action, and that's where teams could beat you. A good secondary could get killed when you go play action, because now you have linebackers that are coming up. You have a lot of things that are happening. David, well, go ahead.
No, I was going to say the other thing that I want to see cleaned up, and I is that the consistency with Brock, but also interior line and pass protection. That it has, Kyle prioritizes the run game, and that was another thing where I'm not making excuses, but like there were times where it's like, come on, guys, like, and you're playing against a good defense too, right? Like, but the idea, and like you said, Hargrave's a pass rusher, right? But it's like you've got guys that are really good at wreaking havoc. So you got to give credit to those guys too. But I would say run defense, but also interior line pass protection. And it's almost like a kind of a mirrored asymmetry there. But that is something that I would keep an eye on over the next month.
Well, David, thank you for taking your time out of your day after training camp to sit here and talk 49ers training camp with me. Hope you get back to your family. Hope you guys have a good rest of your guys' time out here in California, and have a great rest of your guys' evening, because you guys have all night. Make sure you take them to a nice dinner for leaving them all day.
I'm going to take me out to a nice dinner. I'm going to go out to, I think Jesse and Coach and I are going to go to Puesto. It's this taco place. They got half off tacos all night long. Maybe we'll go to Yard House. We went to Yard House last night. Actually, Jesse and Coach, you can put this on there. Jesse and Coach were at Yard House at the same time I was. I'm sitting here thinking we're going to get together. Jesse just completely ghosted me. Didn't, how Jesse Naylor is.
Yeah, he's big timer, bro.
He's a big timer. He's a big time podcaster. And so today, I didn't even tell him. I said, "No, I'm so mad. Don't even pick me up at the hotel." I walked here only to find out that I couldn't sit where I want. So yeah, we're gonna allegedly go out to dinner tonight if Jesse doesn't ghost me again, but I think we will.
I mean, hopefully Jesse doesn't act big time and hits you up to go to dinner. Hope you guys enjoy dinner, man. I'll talk to you guys later. Thank you again for joining today's show. Everyone, make sure you guys go and follow David Liecthy at Backcountry Fam. Backcountry Fam, not farm. It's fam. Are you going to be doing any other shows later today or this week?
Hell no. We'll see. I mean, I'm going to be, I'm going to be at camp tomorrow, so maybe I'll hop on or whatever, if any. But we'll see what happens. We were going to go to Sequoia National Park, but the fires down near Bakersfield look pretty gnarly. So
yeah, fires have been crazy in California, man. But you're always welcome if you want to join tomorrow. We do the same thing, same time. If you're down, it's up to you. Always welcome on the show. Thank you again, David, for giving us some insight on what training camp looked like today and how competitive it was. Brock Purdy played well to start the day. Had some errors, mistakes, threw interceptions. Some of it on him, some of it not. Defense looks like they played well. Running game, top 3 running backs look like they're going to be really good this season. That sounds like a great recipe for success for the 49ers this year. So make sure you guys subscribe to the channel, hit that like button, and make sure you guys go follow David on what they call it, X nowadays, or Twitter. Make sure you guys go over there and follow him.
Or not.